Hello and welcome to Catholic Alpha Radical Live, the podcast that helps you fix your Catholic marriage while also giving you winning tactics for marriage problems, girlfriend problems, and intimacy problems for men. But moreover, where my main mission is to keep you out of divorce courts. And with Marriage Unchained, the art of one flesh, divorce combat coaching is the flavor of the day, while also helping me understand marriage and courting, not dating, in the Catholic faith. Why? Because dating is for sex and courting is for marriage. In this 225th episode, the 11 scenarios that constitute your marriage is in Marriage Crisis Part 2, plus live phone calls from you answering your marriage and crisis questions. So get that queue at 313-723-4225 or call in your browser at callinstudio.com/radical1. Also, if you're getting value out of this podcast, this show, please share it. That way you can help other marriages, and also help give me a big thumbs up on Apple Podcasts, Google, iHeartRadio, or wherever you are listening to this show. So don't wait, get in that queue for some resolution to your marriage confusion. And as always, we have our quote of the day. And for the next few shows, we are having a special quote series of the Diary of Mystic and Saint Maria Faustina, who was shown 4 visions by her guardian angel in the church. And the first vision is a vision of heaven and before hell, which basically means before someone is judged, this is the vision that she was shown as what happens. And so her tour, Saint Faustina, her tour of what it is like before the judgment of heaven and the judgment of hell. Quote, "One day I saw 2 roads. One was broad, covered with sand and flowers, full of joy, music, and all sorts of pleasures. People walked along it, dancing and enjoying themselves. They reached the end of the road without even realizing it. At the end of the road, there was a horrible precipice, that is, the abyss of hell. The souls fell blindly into it as they walked, so they fell. And their numbers were so great that it was impossible to count them. And I saw the other road, a path, for it was narrow and strewn with thorns and rocks. And the people who walked along it had tears in their eyes, and all kinds of suffering befell them. Some fell down upon the rocks, but stood up immediately and went on. At the end of the road, there was a magnificent garden filled with all sorts of happiness, and all these souls were entered there. At the very first instant, they forgot all their sufferings." End quote. Diary of Saint Maria Faustina Kowalski, number 153. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me to help you in yours. Get live Catholic marriage help Tuesday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, for some resolution to your marriage confusion. Okay, and so we're here. We're here with the content of the day, the Jared Jacobs Catholic Alpha Radical Rant of the day. And just to go back on to what we had on our show, our last show, episode 224, we are talking about how do you know you're in marriage crisis? What does that constitute? And kind of where do you go from there? All right. And the other thing is, again, as I said on the last show, I'm going to be going to Tuesdays and Thursdays only for the live show. Of course, the podcast will be like normal, but the live show will only go on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Um, to give me more time to do the other things that need to be done. Also, I might end up going back to Wednesday and even Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday again when things lighten up. But as to right now, this is kind of where I am. So, with that being said, what is marriage crisis? So, marriage crisis is the state that happens in a marriage when all of or nearly all of the emotional connection has left the marriage, as well as trust, vulnerability, and a feeling of being loved, resulting in actions taken by one or both spouses to remove themselves from the pain or to encourage one of the spouses to make things better. So, and today we're going to cover um, the last five of the scenarios. We covered the first six on the last show, which is episode 224. So if you want to get more in depth into those, feel free to go back to that show, episode 224. Also, so really quick, I'm going to review the first six, not in depth, but just enough to get you going so we can get with the next five. So the first, these are not, of course, these are not in any order because marriage crisis, it is what it is. It happens. I've done other shows, at least one show about where I tell you the clues leading up to this. Um, Again, there's no time for procrastination. Once you are in a marriage crisis situation, any one of these I'm going to talk about, there's no more time to try to research and find some trick. There's no more time to to ignore or procrastinate. All of that stuff is over. No more time to think about it. No more time. What am I going to do? It's time to take action, and that's what this show's about. That's what my program's about: taking action and not sitting around getting your head bombarded with a hammer by your wife. Because the longer you put things off, the worse it's going to get. The key here is for a husband to become a better man, because what has caused this, believe it or not, is husbands sit around, neglect their wives, put other priorities before them, and then the wives start to wondering, what am I in this marriage for? I didn't sign up for 40 years of this. I didn't sign up for 50 years of this. And a lot of times women don't even start realizing it until they've been married 40 years, sometimes 50 years. And then they got another 50 years to go. And they go, I don't want to spend another 50 years with this guy. I'll spend another 40 years with him being neglected and not talked to and having a passionless marriage. And he's not passionate about me. I'm not passionate about him. I don't want that. And so then menopause is kicked in. And so women, they just start making these crazy decisions. And before you know it, the husband is in the marriage crisis and he didn't even know it was coming. So he says, but we all know when it's coming. We just refuse to think about it. Okay. So these 11 scenarios are things that once you hit these scenarios, there's no more time. Men, we put our beloved off for years and years and years. We talk to her any old kind of way. Our tone of voice is crapped out. We say mean things to her. We argue with her, and then every time we do that, our credibility, the trust, the love, the emotional connection just goes south every time. But men don't realize that because we're taught to our wife, she's our partner now. She's our partner, and she's supposed to do what she's supposed to do. I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do. Ain't no feelings involved in it. We just go through day by day, and that's what we do. As we know now by listening to that show, this is not how women think. This is not how they're going to do it. They'll take it for a while. They'll even take it for decades. But eventually, I promise you, they will rebel and move to get rid of you. And they're not going to do it in 5 months or 1 month. They're going to plan for 2, 3, 4 years. As I've said before, I knew a lady, she planned for 11 years how she's going to get out of the marriage with a guy who she couldn't stand anymore and believed didn't care about her. So this is why when I say there's no more time to procrastinate and you've got to become a man of action, brother, that's what it means. No more playing around. Stop thinking this ain't your job. Another thing too, man, you know, guys, then they realize they're in marriage crisis. They don't know what to do. And then they start hoarding stuff. Well, or having particular things that I will do. Well, I'm going to try to work as hard as I can. What the heck does that mean? Your wife said, I want a divorce, and she's giving you divorce papers. You're going to lose all your money and all your time with your kids. And you talking about you only going to do certain things, or like when it comes to money. Okay, I don't want to give up this kind of that kind of money. I can't afford it. You can afford it. You just don't want to afford it. You just don't want to afford it. Listen, as long as you got your four walls, your rent or mortgage, you got food, you got a shelter over your head, you got a car payment, dude, all the other bills and loans and credit cards you got mean nothing. Mean nothing. Because what that means is you're going to lose a lot more than that. This is the fight of our life. And we're still trying to gauge well, I got to pay this credit card payment, or I got to pay this, I got to pay this loan, or I got to pay off this second car. And I got to worry about my credit. Man, your credit ain't going to save your marriage and save your children and save your family. So that's what I tell men. When you come to me, I'm telling you now, you don't be putting your money, your job, or anything like that above your marriage. It's the most important thing in your life. Without that, you have no family, you have no children. Your kids get displaced. Your kids gonna be going over visiting over where she live at. Then they're gonna come visit what you live at. What the heck is that? Another thing too, another man starts raising your kids. You think you feel bad now? Wait till that guy's hugging your daughter, hugging your son and stuff, throwing up in the air, playing with him and stuff. And your wife just sitting there going, oh, that's just so cute. That's just so cute. Where you at? In some one bedroom apartment somewhere because you was worried about your money. And you was worried about, well, I ain't trying to work hard. I'm just trying to do what I always done. Man, this is not how it works. That's why the divorce rate's 50% or over, and 80% of those were filed by women. Come on, man. It comes a point in time where you've done it your way. You've done it your way. You've worked all this time. You've hoarded your money. You've paid for whatever you want to pay for. You got all this debt. You got all this stuff going on. It comes a time when you got to start putting your family and your marriage first. And that is two things when it comes to working with somebody that's going to help you. Your money, number one. And number two, you got to work your butt off. That's the truth. That's the realization. When you enter in these 11 things, you have no more time to be worrying about nothing. Again, you got a roof over your head. You paying your mortgage or your rent. Once you pay for your car payment, and you got food, everything else is expendable because you have a marriage to save and a family to save and a God to please. All right? So with that being said, again, the longer you wait as a man, the worse the situation will get, forever affecting your family tree. When I say affects your family tree, that means that if you get divorced, your kids going to get divorced, or they're going to have serious problems in all their relationships. Then when they have kids, which will probably be out of wedlock, and we all know where that goes, south. The kids are at a serious disadvantage when they're not married, when they're not born to a mother and a father in the same house and married and going to church. We know that. So guess what's going to happen to your kids if you get divorced? They're gonna grow up, they're gonna get married, or they ain't gonna get married. They're gonna have all these kids, and those kids are gonna do what? They're gonna be divorced too. They're gonna have the same problems too. Then those kids gonna have kids, and it's gonna just keep repeating and repeating and repeating. Look at the Black community. Just look at it. It's the same exact thing. Like I'm just saying. Now the white boys, y'all are having the same stuff happening. How many times your daughters come home talking about they get pregnant? How many times your sons come up to me, oh, I got some girl pregnant? If they even tell you when they get a girl pregnant, if they even tell you, that's another thing. This society breeds rebellion against people who are trying to do it right. This is why I try to beg you and plead with you, stop wasting time. Especially if you're in a mediocre marriage, a passionless marriage, a boring marriage, or anything with no emotional connection, if you in that kind of marriage, you still have time to save this and make it great. Stop going day to day and just thinking it's going to get better on its own without no work from you, who is the leader and server and protector and defender and lover of that family. It's not going to change, gentlemen, unless you change. And this is why I plead with you. I can't tell you, I can only tell you where I've been and where I've talked to other men have been, and I can only tell you that it only gets worse. It never gets better. Yeah, let's say you divorce your wife, she divorces you or whatever. You guys get annulment, whatever, it's all over. It ain't never the same. It ain't never the same as this with that first wife. The first one of your one, the one that you told God you're gonna spend the rest of your life with and love her to death do you part. Women, same for you too. It's worse for you because you done had all these sex with all these other guys, and so your psyche's all screwed up. Your emotionalism is all screwed up. Your spiritual life is all screwed up because the more men you sleep with, the more damaged you become as a woman. Nobody's gonna tell you that, but that's the truth. I've seen it happen 100,000 times. I'm exaggerating, but it's the truth. The more men you sleep with, the more damaged your psyche becomes. The more emotionally confused you are. The more hurtful, the more damaged your spiritual life is and your spiritual self are. And you can't be going out here sleeping with anybody other than your husband. And this is what nobody tells women, and they get all screwed up. And then when they finally do, that's why no man wants you. That's why these men, no men want you because you're all screwed up. And when you do things like that, leave your husband and leave your family and start having this, like, I'm gonna have fun and having sex with everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody other than your husband. You start to get screwed up really, really bad. Just think of all the times before you was married. Just think of all the times before you was married, you slept with some jerk that left you. Think about it. That's why you messed up. Because before your husband, you messed with all these people. You slept with more than 2, 3, 4 guys because you thought that's what the feminist woman's supposed to do. That's woman freedom. It screwed you up. So then you got this man, and you don't know how to serve him. You don't know how to love him because all the baggage that you have from all these previous sexual relationships. That's right. I'm saying it. Nobody tells you this stuff because they doing the same thing, and the devil loves company. Then you get your husband, he's trying to be a good man. You don't pay attention to him, you don't serve him, you don't want to have his babies. You don't want to do nothing. You don't want to have sex with him. You only want to have sex when you want to have sex. You don't, you all screw up because you got all this baggage from before you were married. That's why I tell all my guys in my program, it's not just your fault, gentlemen. I know I say a lot of things that this blames men. The reason I say I blame is because it's your responsibility. You are responsible as the man for everything in your house. So it's your responsibility. But your wife has problems too before she even met you, like I just explained. So how do you get over that? And this is my point. This is why I plead with you to make a stand with this wife. Make a stand with this husband. Stop trying to think the grass is greener out there, and it ain't, because that person has problems too. Most of the time they worse. But they're not going to show that to you when they're trying to get in your pants. Gentlemen, she's not going to show that to you when she wants you to hold her and care for her. They're not going to show, these women, they're not going to show you that. They're only going to show it to you when you sign that marriage certificate, or you're living together, or you've been around, or you've been dating and stuff for 6 months, a year or something. But just try to heed my warnings, man. I'm not talking out the side of my neck. I'm talking from experience. Same crap happened to me. And I see so many guys go through this stuff. Women, you too. So please, when I say you have no more time, this is exactly what I mean. It's time to start getting your butt into action. Okay? So to review, number one, marriage crisis situation number one, your wife has left with or without the children. That's usually temporary, right? They usually leave and they come back. Okay, it's temporary. Your wife is cheating. She has found another man. Okay, it's gonna screw her up just as much as it's gonna screw you up, or her cheating on you with another dude. Okay, the third marriage crisis situation is your wife has asked for a divorce. Okay, the fourth marriage crisis situation is you are separated or have a legal separation, but you didn't want it. So the difference between this one and number one of your wife is left with or without the children is the legal separation, or you're separated, is a little bit more permanent. semi-permanent. What I mean is she's moved and got an apartment, or she's filed legal separation, which means you have papers with the state that's saying you're legally separated. And another thing too, man, the deeper you go into these, man, the harder it is to get your wife back. The harder it is to bring the marriage together. This is why somebody has to change. Somebody has to change, because the way it wasn't working. Number 5, you two sleep in separate bedrooms. That's the beginning of the end. Sleeping in separate bedrooms. Okay. Then number 6, which went over the last show, episode 224, was your wife has filed for divorce. So your wife has filed for divorce. She's actually went and got a lawyer most of the time. Sometimes rarely they don't get a lawyer. They just go file anyway. But then she files for divorce, and you're gonna get papers and all that stuff. Man, it's just terrible, man. It's just terrible. And you know, a woman, and then she starts treating you like she don't know you no more, like you're a stranger. I think that hurts worse than the actual filing for divorce and the no sex. The fact that the woman that I, like my first wife, I loved her for 16 years. I love that woman. For 16 years, I love that woman. All of a sudden, you know, I'm a stranger. She don't talk to me. And and honestly, man, I thought I was doing what a man's supposed to do. And that's why I don't completely blame, especially young men. I wasn't taught nothing. I wasn't taught nothing. I'm thinking we cool. I'm thinking me and my wife cool. All of a sudden, I look up. She got this other man. The dude's playing with my sons, putting his hand on my son's head, rubbing his hair. Dude, that you talk about pain. Those two things are probably the more painful. That your wife treats you like you are a stranger, like you guys were never married, and you know, like she never loved you and never kissed you and swapped spit, made love together. And then, and if there's another man, how he interacts with your children, or how he picks them up and plays with them and rubs their head, talking about how they're such good kids and all this kind of stuff. Man, that's some painful, painful stuff, man. And you think you don't want to do no work and get this right. You think you don't want to dip in your pocket and pay some money and get this right. You are sorely mistaken, because you don't know the pain it's going to be. Even when you are divorced. I got guys, man, they wife only, the court gets involved. See, this is another difference, which I don't get, man. Court gets involved. When you let big daddy government in your life and the court gets involved, they say, well, you can only talk on an app. Because now you got technology, right? I ain't got to see you to bust your butt. Look, you talk to her on the app, she talk to you on the app. You can't talk in person, and you only talk about the kids. See, man, y'all, the ones that ain't divorced, y'all don't really understand how it's going to be. You really don't. You think you only know what you know, and that ain't much. That's why you got me, and that's why I'm so direct with you, because you don't need somebody, some counselor, some marriage counselor, some therapist telling you all this puffy, puffy, fluffy, fluffy stuff. You need the realization of what's going to happen. And that's why I'm the way I am. I try to give you the truth about what's going to happen, man, so that you know when it's coming. If you choose not to act, at least you know what's going to happen. You can't sit there and say, I didn't know, just like the faith, like God. When he hammers your butt on the day of judgment, on your judgment, you can't say, I didn't know. Because you do know. Okay? So this is what I'm saying, man. It's painful. It's really painful. So your job is to please try your best to do whatever you can to fix it now. Why? For 2 reasons. Number 1, to stop the future pain you're going to get. Number 2, so you can look your kids in the eyes 20 years from now and say, I loved your mother. I tried my best. I was a screwed up dad, a screwed up husband at first, but I got myself together. I tried my best to talk to her. She wouldn't, and I loved her. And the third thing is when you stand before our Lord Jesus Christ at your particular judgment. And you sitting there and God already knows the deal, and you sitting there going, he asks, hey man, what happened? Well, because he already knows what happened, but he wants you to say it out loud. Well, and you can say it with confidence, Lord, I tried my best. I really, really did. I changed. I became a different man. I became a great man, a great father, a great husband for her. I tried my best, but she would not listen. And this is what you guys got to realize. Most men they won't come get help because of their pride. Their pride gets in the way. Well, I just go get me another woman. Well, she ain't nothing. Forget her. I'll go get me another woman. What you can. Any man could go get another man. I'm gonna get another woman. I'm sorry. Just like any woman go get another man. It's the same thing. But man, is that really what you want? That's not your first option. Why? Because they ain't accomplishing nothing. First of all, as a man, you lose all credibility. You say you love your wife, you say you love your kids, you say you love God and want to do his will, and then you go out and get another woman. Is that really what you really want? That's not your first option. Your first option is you get some help of somebody to try to help you work through this. You get right with the Lord, and then you start getting that prayer warfare going, man. And then you just try to get yourself together, man. And then you go through the process. You go through the process of changing yourself. You go through the process of trying to show your wife how much you love her and you care and you make mistakes. But you don't go out and get another woman. You don't go out and start masturbating and watching pornography and all this kind of crap. You don't do that stuff because you lose credibility with your children, with your wife, even more because she already don't trust you. So then, you get back in the mass and you get your life going together. You get out in the thing, you start building a life without her and start showing that you are, get your confidence back and things like that. Then if she files for divorce, then she's filed for divorce. But you still keep going. You still make it where you are the one that's doing what you're supposed to do. You can't worry about what she's doing, right? Then you go through the divorce court and then you're divorced. Okay, but that's still your wife in the eyes of God. So you still got to be trying to get her back. Now, once you get the annulment from the church, you got a divorce. And so your marriage is over in the eyes of the state. And that's the problem many women think. They like, if I get divorced, it's over. It ain't over. It ain't over. It ain't over. I'm going to say it again. It ain't over. You are sorely mistaken. Miss Woman, Miss Wife, you got to pay for that in front of your particular judgment. That's why this world's not it. You still, you acting like this world is not it. And this world is not it. You're going to go before God to answer for everything you did and all this emotional stuff. Oh, he didn't talk to me right. Oh, he neglected me. Oh, and then God's going to say, well, did you pray for him? Did you say rosaries for him? Did you ask me to change his cold heart for you? Did you sacrifice? Did you suffer for him? Did you still raise his children right? Did you still make love to him? Did you still hold him and cuddle him and kiss him? Did you go to adoration for him? What did you do? What did you do to make a plea to me to change your husband, to change the heart of your husband? What did you do? And you're going to sit there, and you know what you're going to do as a woman? You're going to still sit there with that emotional crap. Oh, well, it's not what I did, it's what he did to me. And he messed around with another woman, and he talked to me bad, and he didn't spend time with me. And God ain't trying to hear that. God is not trying to hear that. Because he knows the deal. He knows your heart. He knows what you should have done. And this is where we're going. You get an annulment, now it's over in the eyes of God and it's over in the eyes of the state. So then, as a man, you can decide what you're going to do. Am I going to still keep trying to fight for, or you're free to move on and find you another woman? But here's the key. If you don't learn how a woman thinks, what a woman needs, how to make her happy, how to make her satisfied, how to make her fulfilled, you're going to do the same crap that you did with your first wife. You know how many guys that I get that have been married 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times? You know how many? I can't count them. I can't even count them, man. Because men, we don't want to change. We just want to keep doing the way we want to do. How many times have I can't tell you how many men I get, they just think, well, Jerry's going to show them some trick, and then I can go back to doing what I was doing when she come back and stuff. Man, that is not the way a real man thinks. Women, once they know your game, gentlemen, they not falling for that because they know that's all you want. That's why the first thing they do is cut off the making love thing. I ain't gonna give him no more loving, and then maybe he'll change. But then she starts to think, And then you start to go, oh, baby, I'm sorry. And you give her all these gifts and do all this stuff that you think. You buy her flowers and perfume, and you go out and try to be nice to her all of 2 months, 3 months. And then she goes, then the first time she'll go, okay, I'll come back and give you, and we'll start making love again. Then you start going right there the same way you were. Women ain't stupid. It takes them a little while to learn, but once they learn, then they say, oh, okay. Then the second and third time, you know what she does? She goes, we're not making love no more. Even though she knows it's against God. She knows it. Every woman knows that it's wrong to deny your husband sex. They all know it. I don't care if it's an atheist, because it's inside their heart. They know that. But they even go against, they feel so bad, they feel so misused that they say, listen, I'm not giving you no sex until you prove to me that you didn't change. That's what they do. They know your game. Once they know your game, you're not going to get her back by talking to her. That's why your wife, when after so long, she won't even let you talk to her, because she knows if I let him talk to me, he gonna talk me into having sex with him again, and then I'm gonna be vulnerable again. And I'm telling you, gentlemen, this is why you need to find you somebody that can help you get through this stuff, man, and work through these layers. Because, man, it's not women, once they get hip to your game, they're not falling for that stuff. They're not falling for your sweet talk and your gifts and your flowers and all that kind of stuff no more, because they know you're lying. And they know once they make love to you again, that it's going to start all over again. That's why you guys whose wife ain't made love to you in 5 or 6 years, or ain't gave you already made love to you in 6 months, that's what she's thinking. That's what she's thinking. And that was free. Guess what you get if you pay for it? If you pay me, guess what you're going to get? All right. So that was it. So we're going to do it real quick. We're going to take a break and come back. And guys, think about what I did talked about. I know I was a little hard on you this morning, but you know what? Sometimes that's what it takes to get guys to understand that this ain't no joke. If you're getting value from this podcast and would like more personal marriage help, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an opportunity to work with me personally for free. Yes, within 30 days, learn how to become a better husband that attracts your wife back to you. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com and get a plan tailored specific to your marriage and situation. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me the chance to help you using my personal and gained experience. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior coaching for your marriage. Again, SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com. That's SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com to become the man God created you to be and the husband your wife needs. Lastly, I always get the question, why don't you help women? And I always answer them, I do. So, for all of you beloved wives out there that want to reignite that feeling of emotional closeness and complete love from your hubby, consider marriage coaching and visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an improved marriage within 30 days. All right. So let's keep it going. Boom, boom, boom. Hey. Number 7. This number 7 reason that you want scenario that solidifies that you are in marriage crisis is you are divorced, but you didn't want it. Now, believe it or not, there are some really good men out there. They warriors. They really are. They go, okay, I know I screwed up. What can I do to make this right? And sometimes by the time they figure it out, the divorce is already over. And believe it or not, that is once they file for divorce, but once they divorce you and it's over, it's severed, then the next thing is the annulment. Oh man, women, they think it's over, we're done. But there are some guys that they will fight and try to do as much, like I were talking, they will do as much as they can so that because they love God. See, man, a lot of y'all might be saying, Jerry, why are you trying so hard? If the woman don't want me, what are you trying so hard to get her for? The reason why is because I love Christ. And when Christ is number one, above everything else. And once you're detached from everything else, your wife, your children, your money, your job, your car, your possessions, only then can you be worthy to stand before Christ in the beatific vision in front of God. So when I'm trying, believe me, man, you think it's easy? You think it's easy for me to sit up here with the things that women do to their husbands when they are trying to get rid of them? You think it's easy for me to sit and coach them and tell them don't fall for that and try to save it and man explain all this stuff? It hurts me. And if you know any of my guys that work with me, you will know that I get hurt, upset of what these women do to them. But see, here's the deal. When you love God, and the only true test and proof that you love God is only one thing: obedience. And when you love God, you understand that you're supposed to go through suffering. That's what this life's about. This life is about suffering. It's about a test. Am I worthy of to stand in front of God in heaven? Am I worthy of that wife? Am I worthy of those children? That is your mission, man. That is your mission. But when we as men screw it up, we got to go through pain to get it back, because if we don't learn nothing. See, that's how it works, man. That's how it works. And so guys, they go, well, Jared, why are you up there trying to, you know, tell all these men to save their marriage, no matter when the woman don't want them or she wants to divorce them and all that stuff? Because I understand God somewhat and I know what it's about. First of all, scripture is real plain. Christ says that you're not supposed to get divorced. I don't care what none of you Protestants talk about that you know, that ain't what he means. That is what he means. It is what he means, man. Stop rationalizing your sin and stupidity, man, and ignorance. You know what the man said. The man says it was not meant to be in the beginning. Adam and Eve was married for life before Moses. That's why Moses allowed divorce, because of the way that you guys are thinking now. But when Christ came, he changed it. That you can to even look at a woman in lust is a mortal sin, dude. And so you trying to think it's okay to divorce your wife and marry another woman? You think that that's what's happening? You really believe that? Well, you keep right on believing it. If you believe in God, if Christ is true man, true God, if Christ is really real and God is real, then, and Christ did all the miracles in the book, Christ did all this stuff, and he is God, then you got to understand that the things he says is what he's saying. It ain't no interpreting stuff on this one right here. This one right here is very plain. If you just read it, matter of fact, I just read a couple weeks ago, a month ago or something. And I'm sitting there going like all of you, man, no, man, it's got to be, where's the loophole? There's got to be a loophole. Where's it at? It ain't no loophole, man. It ain't no loophole. The loophole is you chose her, she chose you, man up, make it work. That's what it is. That's what it is. So that's why, because I'm focusing on the soul of a man. I'm not focusing on this life. Why? Because for a man, this life is about suffering. It's about sacrifice. It's about trying to be like our Lord Jesus Christ, like him. And so, yes, if I'm sitting here going, yeah, man, just gonna divorce her, man. Yeah, you file for divorce first. Yeah, man, take everything, man. Bust her butt, man. Go get you another woman, man. Get you 3 new cars, man. Keep on doing what you want to do. That's right. Boom, that's right. And then 50 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 months from now, you die in a car accident, you standing before Christ, and he goes, hey, man, what's up? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? See, that's the thing, man. This is why it's important for men to think about our mortality every single day, because you're not a real man if you don't. We should be thinking about our mortality every day. If I died today, what happens? See, that's what a real man does. If I died today, what happens? What's going to happen? See, when you don't think like that, Of course you go get another woman. We don't think like that. Of course you masturbate. We don't think like that. Of course you watch pornography. We don't think like that. Of course you go buy 5 new Cadillacs. Spend all your money. Don't leave your kids nothing. Of course you think like that. Because you had no responsibility to nobody. That's why people want to be atheists. That's why people don't want to rationalize God's word. That's why people rationalize and want to do what they want to do, because they are selfish and they don't want to be beholden to anybody telling them anything, including God. And that is a huge, huge mistake. Okay? So the reason I ask men to fight as hard as you can and do everything you can to make this right, even when your wife is prideful, surly, mean, doing all this crazy stuff. I had a guy, man, his wife put him in jail 8 times. You think you got problems? Put him in jail 8 times, got 12, 14 kids or something. Put him in jail 8, 9 times. The judge put him in jail 8, 9 times. And you know why? Because he's Catholic. In the end, that's why. Because he didn't like Catholics. So whenever the woman complained and went to the court, judge just put him in jail. You don't get a different judge, you get the same judge. You think you got problems? You think your life is bad? Look at that one. It's probably the worst case I ever had. What do you do with that? How do you get through that? That's why you do what God asks you to do. You love God. Look at, and I used to me and him use a joke all the time. Say, hey man, you just like Peter. You know, Peter was in jail all them times too. Matter of fact, Peter got what? When Peter they got crucified, so he wanted to be crucified upside down because he wasn't worthy to be crucified like Christ. See, man, another thing too, you going through this kind of stuff, man. Look at the cross, look at the crucifix, man. Even you Protestants, look at the crucifix and see Jesus sitting up there. You think your life is bad? Look at that. My wife mess with me all the time. I'm bitching and whining because, you know, your wife, that's the only one you can really bitch and whine to. She'll look at me and start laughing. Well, Christ went through worse. What you gonna say then? What you gonna say then? That's why you gotta have a good woman, man. That's why you gotta fight for all this stuff, man. Because if you and your wife can get through this, you know how passionate and strong and loving and prosperous your marriage will be, your relationship will be. This is why you fight. And then in the end, when you ain't got nothing left to fight and the annulment comes through, or if you're a Protestant, the judge didn't hit the gavel and you didn't try even after divorce, and she's, you know, then that's the time when you got a decision to make. But only you as a man can make that decision. That's the great thing about being a Catholic, that you know in your heart, once that annulment goes through, that it's over. It ain't no matter what nobody else says. If the church gives you annulment, which means your marriage never was, it's over. Because in the eyes of God, it's over. Now, if you're a Protestant, you don't have that kind of thing. So you got to just, you know, you just kind of go on what Protestants do. Well, I think what I'm doing is right. That's why the Catholic Church is so beautiful, because it's all laid out for you. And you know when you do something, if it's by God, interpreted properly through Scripture, all of that stuff, then you know I've done the right thing, and there's no regret. Of course, you're gonna regret that you lost your wife and family, but if your wife, listen, that's why it's called free will, gentlemen, because our wives can refuse the Holy Spirit. That's the caveat in all of this. The trump card, as you heard me say a couple last show, is emotional connection. Okay, but the combat to that is you keep the emotional connection going. The other thing is, even when you try and get things right, your wife can still reject the Holy Spirit and be like, I don't care what God's talking about. I don't care how many times the Holy Spirit taps me on my shoulder. I'm not going back to that man. When you got a woman like that, only you as a man can determine, after all the hard work you do, all the praying you do, all the suffering you do, all the things, all the habits you learn, then you have the knowledge and the formation in the church to decide what you as a man can do. But you can't do that at the beginning. You can't do that when your wife first starts messing around on you. You can't do that at the beginning when you the same old guy you was 5 years ago and stuff. You can't make a decision like that when you're not formed correctly yet, when you haven't prayed or been to mass or done the sacraments or going to church every Sunday or in scripture and you suffer and sacrifice. After that, then yes, you are formed and you can kind of, you and your guardian angel and the Holy Spirit can kind of work through this and go, okay, God, what am I going to do? Right? Okay. So number 7, again, you're divorced, but you didn't want it. So that is what I mean. Guys, you divorced, but you don't want it. Those are really hard, really, really hard. No one believes in divorce until they want one. That's the whole thing. I hear Catholics talk to me all the time, or I hear a guy coming before me all the time, and he'll go, oh, my wife ain't going to divorce me. She don't believe in divorce. We don't believe in divorce. Man, you know how crazy that is, man. You know how crazy that is. That's a guy that has no clue. Dude, I don't care if you Catholic, Baptist, Jehovah's Witness, Muslim, atheist, blah, 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 on Buddhist. None of them, nobody believes in divorce until they want one. And that's what women go by. That's what did they go by? And so you cannot believe that your wife won't file for divorce or she won't move toward it. The more the pain is, the more she's going to go, okay? It doesn't matter if a woman is an atheist or Christian or whatever. In order to stop the pain, she will seek a divorce and play it out. Even though she doesn't want it, in her mind, it is much better than continuing in a marriage that is on a road to nowhere. Women will not stay in a marriage or try to get out of it or plan to get out of it if they feel the marriage is on the road to nowhere. And what does that mean? On the road to nowhere means he neglects me. We don't spend no time together. He don't put me on a pedestal. He don't make me feel special. He don't date me. He don't court me. Hell, he even don't make good love to me. That's what that means. Okay. Number 8, your wife has filed for an annulment. If your wife is Catholic, she knows that divorce is only good for the state and dividing assets. That's what divorce is good for. And most women know that. Okay. Even if she's Catholic. So in order to get an annulment in the Catholic Church, you got to have divorce first. And the smart women who didn't plan it out, they know that. So what do? They know the divorce it separates us. They know that it's good to get the assets and get what I want and get my kids. But then to really get rid of him, so I ain't got to ever see him again if I don't want to, I file for an annulment and get that process going. But this access to the divorce is meaningless in the eyes of God as he created marriage. So she will file for an annulment to get rid of her husband permanently. If he still refuses to change and make her feel loved and the emotional connection and trust return. Again, no small feat. Please, gentlemen, understand that the trump card is emotional connection and you changing. That's the trump card. When you go through my program, that's what we focus on. Look, man, I'm not just trying to teach you how to make your wife happy. I'm trying to teach you how to make any woman happy. See the difference? You know why? Because Jerry thinks in the future, what if your wife rejects the Holy Spirit? What you gonna do? You 50 years old and you live to 100 years old, you're gonna stay single for 50 years? And you're gonna get in another marriage and screw that girl's life up too because you ain't changed? No, that's short-sighted. That's short-sighted. If your wife comes back, you're gonna make her the happiest woman in the world going through my stuff. You will. I don't care if you poor. I don't care if you destitute. I don't care if you rich. I don't care if you're a billionaire. All that stuff don't mean nothing without your wife. But let's say she does. You've got to learn as a man how women think. You got to learn what they want. You got to learn what they need, what they expect, the things that they do, how to communicate with them, how to love them properly. And you can't do that if you don't seek help, or if whatever you got to do, however you figure it out, you got to figure it out. And that's the bomb. That's the great thing about this. Where you are now, you could be greater than you are now. Like, that's how I look at it. Right now, I am where I am, but I can always be better. And when you have a mindset like that, man, you're gonna always be good. You're gonna always be great. You're gonna always have the limitless possibilities. Okay. Number 9, you have an annulment but didn't want it. So the same kind of thing. Your wife is filed for annulment and you didn't want it. Okay. Again, this whole marriage crisis thing depends on the man getting his head out of the sand and realizing that his very life is on the line. This is why when I talk, I'm very direct with you guys, because men don't listen no other way. Oh, you so mean. Guys like that, I don't even want to talk to you because you ain't got the heart. Anyway, when your wife starts kicking your butt in court, your wife starts kicking your butt, talking to you and not talking to you and doing all this crap to you, and you sitting there going, and I'm trying to tell you what to do, and you sitting there going, oh, why you so mean to me? Why you talk that way to me? Dude, you ain't the right man. That's why you are where you are, dude. You got to toughen up, man up. I had a guy yesterday in the program. We had group sessions. He said, he told the dude, he said, hey, man, because, we do chat too. He said, hey, man, you got to man up. Because being a masculine man as Christ was, which was what? Being direct, telling the truth, and doing it with love and care and empathy. That's the way Christ was, man. And if you don't, that's what draws your wife to you, not being this soft. That ain't what women want. And you guys think they want that, you got another thing coming. After 5 years, she's going to get rid of your butt. She go, what the heck did I marry him for? Women will rebel against a weak man. They will, because that's not what they want. They don't want that. They ain't going to get a woman to do that, which is, guess what? That's what a lot of them do these days, don't they? Well, hell, I might as well go get me a woman. Because that's what happens. When men don't exude confidence and masculinity as our Lord Jesus Christ, what happens is women become lesbians, or they get rid of you. They don't want you. Yes, I said it. It's the truth. Okay? Come on, baby. Come on. This ain't no play. This ain't playtime. Okay? You got your life. Like I just said, your life is on the line, gentlemen. Your very life is on the line. Okay? Think about your children. If you don't think about God, if you don't think about your wife, you don't think about yourself, at least think about your children. I don't care if your kids are 90 years old. They still your kids. You still love them. You still got to make work with their mama. Okay? Okay. So, next, many men will continue to go along and give her whatever she wants, further proving to her that she is doing the right things and he is completely clueless. He usually will still blame her and allow his pride to destroy his family. Once the annulment is final, he has only 2 choices. 1, to begin the fight to recapture her heart, or 2, to move on with his life. That's what happens when there's an annulment. It's basically over. Your marriage is over. OVER. Okay. Number 10, almost done. You continuously, number 10 scenario in marriage crisis that lets you know you're in marriage crisis. You continuously argue, bicker, debate, and fight. You have bad communication. Until these things stop, the marriage will continue to degrade. The ego and pride, essentially Satan, must be removed as the barrier between the two. Being right is not the way to a better marriage. Being right is not the way to a better marriage. Being right is not the way to a better marriage. Why did I say that 3 times? Because being right is not the way to a better marriage. Do you want to be right, or you want to save your marriage? You want to be right, or you want to keep your kids? You want to be right, or you want to keep another man off your wife? You want to be right, or you want to please God? I know. See, man, when you dealing with an emotional being, which is what we both are, but your wife is more emotional because she has to bond with the children and nurture them. And if you're not emotional, you can't, a lot of times you can't be empathetic and sympathetic and support the kids the way they need to be and connect with them. Why? You, the husband, you can't do that because you got to go to work. And not just that, you got everything else to run. So you don't even have the time to sit there, 18, 15 hours, 16 hours a day dealing with children. That's why women are so great and they don't even freaking know it. This is how great women are and they don't even know it. Father Ripperker says, he's a priest and exorcist psychologist of the church. He says women are so crazy today. He said they have the ability to change nations just by the raising of one child. Now you think about that one. That's deep. And it's the truth. But women, we neglect it. You neglect that, man. And I'm sorry. It's terrible. It's terrible. The kids pay for everything. That's why when you hear me say, when your kids have kids, they're gonna get divorced too. Because all kids, for the most, unless they're very, very strong, and in today's world where there's no God, it's almost impossible. They're gonna have the same problems you're gonna have, and they're gonna get divorced the way you did. Why? Because you and your wife showed them how to do it. And the best way to do it is you never talk bad about the mother, your wife. You always tell the kids how much you love her and how you're fighting for her and how you're never going to give up. So that your kids, when they look at you and they're 20 years old and they're 30 years old and they're 40 years old, they can say, hey, my daddy fought for my mama. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fight for my wife too. But if, as a man, we give up and we go out there in the world and embrace Satan and evil in our lives, and we don't abide by God, we just teaching our kids to do what we do. God will never be first in your children's life until he is number one in yours as a man. Wife too, okay? So arguing and bickering, debating and fighting, bad communication is the first thing that is really killing your marriage. The way we talk to our wives, I don't care. Women, when they fall in love with you, man, they will fall in love with you, and you almost gotta kill them for them to leave you. Why? Because you're bonded to them. That you wonder why does a woman stay with a man that beats her head in? Why does a woman stay with a man that messes around on her every year, 5 or 6 times a year with other women? You know why? She can't help it. And these women that say, you crazy, I wouldn't take that. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. This is why the smart people tell women, keep your legs closed. Keep your legs closed, because if you don't and you have sex with that man, he controls you now. He owns you. That's why God goes, don't have sex outside of marriage, especially ladies, because now you become kind of like under the control of that man. And it's very important that we understand that. Okay, this is why men are called to control ourselves and not to, because a woman offers us their body and their love and their gift. If we're not married, we're supposed to have control like Christ and never take it. Why? Because of the power of ourselves, the power God has given us to do what I just said. We have a lot of power as a man, and we, just like anything else, it can be abused. And once it's abused, the world takes it in the butt, gets in trouble. The world's in trouble. And we've got to start understanding our power as men. This is why when you hear me and other people say, priests, pastors, men, you've got to change yourself so that your wife and children will follow you. But they, and so this is how important you are as a man, dude. This is how so important you are. But see, we've believed Satan for all these years that we're nothing, that it's all about us. We're selfish and blah, 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 and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. But man, this is not how it works, okay? So try your best to hear what I'm saying. I'm not getting on you. I'm trying to tell you what Christ would have you do, okay? And that's why it's hard, because we want to do what we want to do, okay? So debating and fighting and arguing, that is the quickest way to get your wife to believe you don't care about her. And then she's going to start planning. Planning to what? Planning to leave you. by any means necessary. Number 11, the last one, you make love less than monthly. Now you might say, Jerry, why are you always saying, talk about sex? Well, first of all, I don't talk about sex nearly as much as I should, but I don't do that. I don't, because I try to talk about it sparingly. And the reason why is because people get all squeamish when we start talking about sex. Okay. I understand that. But there's some things you got to know. And the main reason that I have to talk about sex is because it's all connected. Your wife, God, your children, yourself, it's all connected, and sex is a big part of that. Why? Because sex, I say, is the second most important thing in your marriage besides prayer. If you ain't having sex with your wife, how you gonna build an emotional connection? A strong one, a one. That's why women don't leave men. Don't leave the men because they whatever. It's hard for women to leave men. Why? Because when you make love to a woman, she becomes bonded to you. You become bonded to her. Her bond is a lot stronger because she's a receiver. And so this is why it's important. If you and your wife go 30 days, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years without making love, who's bonded with your wife? Who's taking care of her? Who's loving her? It ain't you. And people go, well, you ain't got to have sex to have great sex to have a good marriage. That's a lie. That's the lie people that don't know how to do it say. It's the truth, man. It's the truth. I've done it. I've taught all kind of men to do it, and it works. But like I tell you, it's not just about the sex. It's not just about prayer. It's not just about communication. It's not just about being a real man. It's all this stuff. It has to work together to give you a full package as a man so that your wife is drawn to you, and or if you're not together, she's drawn back to you. Okay? Okay. So sex is the second most important thing in your marriage. Why? Because it builds and strengthens the emotional connection, which is very important for women. I would say that it's number one for women. If as a couple you aren't making love on a regular basis, the marriage will degrade and marriage crisis will embed itself. The husband making a decision to become a better man and husband usually fixes this with no problem. But the key is he has to be willing to look in the mirror at himself, which is usually not going to happen. 30 days. If you don't make love at least monthly, that means you're not even making love 12 times or 10 times a year. You're not making love 12 times a year. Think about that. If you and your wife, you have grown apart so much that you don't even make love once a month, something's wrong. And you got to admit that's wrong. Now, there are guys that have erectile dysfunction, which most of the time is their own fault. Let's just be real about it. Erectile dysfunction is usually wrong with men because they're eating bad stuff. They put the wrong things in their mouth. They get sick. They got to take all these medications, and then their pee-pee don't work. Or there's men that have premature ejaculation, which is it could be a mental problem or it could be a physical problem. So this is why you have to learn how to defeat these enemies in your bedroom, because the reason why is because is it fair that a woman who loves you more than anything in the world, is it fair that this woman cannot make love to her husband when she wants to? And when they do make love, it is a very fruitful, loving, caring, and astronomically awesome session. Enough of that. All right. So putting it all together, gentlemen, putting it all together. Marriage crisis is horrible. It destroys marriages, children, and families. Marriage crisis occurs when there is no defense against Satan in the home by the man. He continues to go day in and day out, neglecting his mission of defense. And all the while, his wife is being tempted by the evil one, thereby hardening her heart for her husband, which then falls down to the children. The power of men in the home is greatly underestimated. In order for marriage and family to work, the man must be on his job, encouraging his beloved wife to stay on her job. God has a great plan for marriage and harmony. But when men neglect their responsibilities of protection, defense, and service, it all falls apart. When marriage crisis happens, it can be fixed, but only with the mindset of building a new marriage. And this can only be done by the leadership and service of the authority in the home. And that is you, the husband, becoming the man God created you to be. Bam. If you're getting value from this podcast and would like more personal marriage help, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an opportunity to work with me personally for free. Yes, within 30 days, learn how to become a better husband that attracts your wife back to you. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com and get a plan tailored specific to your marriage and situation. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me the chance to help you using my personal and gained experience. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior coaching for your marriage. Again, SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com. That's SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com to become the man God created you to be and the husband your wife needs. Lastly, I always get the question, why don't you help women? And I always answer them, I do. So, for all of you beloved wives out there that want to reignite that feeling of emotional closeness and complete love from your hubby, consider marriage coaching and visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an improved marriage within 30 days. Okay. So real quick, we're going to do a review of everything we talked about today. The 10, 11, I think it's 11 scenarios that constitute you are firmly inside of marriage crisis and you have no more time to begin to change, grow as a man with spiritually with God, your wife, and your children, okay? Number 1, your wife has left with or without the children. Number 2, your wife is cheating. Number 3, your wife has asked for a divorce. Number 4, you are separated or have a legal separation, but you didn't want it. Number 5, you sleep in separate bedrooms. Number 6, your wife has filed for a divorce. And the number 7 reason that you are entrenched in that this shows that you are really inside of marriage crisis is you are divorced but didn't want it. Number 8, your wife has filed for an annulment. Number 9, you have annulment but you didn't want it. Number 10, you continuously argue, bicker, debate, and fight, bad communication. And number 11, you and your beloved wife have not made love in more than 30 days. All right. So I hope you got something out of that today. And I had fun. I hope you had fun too. Laughed a little bit. We cried a little bit. We felt sad a little bit, but that's how it works, man. That's the life. So what would you like me to do a show on? All of you, if you put it in the comments. We talk when shows come and stuff, or you can email me at radicalquestions@catholicalpha.com. That's radicalquestions@catholicalpha.com. And I will review it and decide to do the show and put it together. It's not easy putting the show together, but if I think it's a good idea, which usually you guys are going to give me great ideas, I know that, so I'll probably do it. Again, if you want show ideas, radicalquestions@catholicalpha.com, and we will do this, okay? And so in conclusion, as we always do, we conclude with a quote from Pope Benedict XVI, which states, "Society offers you comfort, but you weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. Now go forth, Christian soldier. The spiritual fight is up on you. Fast, pray, and prepare for battle." Thank you for listening in today. If what you heard helped you in any way and you would like more personal attention, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior marriage coaching. And remember to join the Catholic Alpha Radical Live podcast as a caller or listener every Tuesday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. To join as a caller, dial area code 313-RADICAL. To join as a listener or view the live stream, visit the Catholic Alpha Radical Live Facebook page or visit CatholicAlpha.com for Catholic marriage help that actually works. Bam.